This is Standing Watch. And now, Evangelist Norbert Link.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to our Standing Watch program. The Bible contains many prophecies for our time, for the immediate future. And one of these prophecies have to do with an emergence of Far Eastern nations, a power bloc. And let's start with this power bloc right now, and let's talk about what countries will be in all likelihood part of that power bloc. Now, Fox News wrote on February 23, 6 countries sided with Russia during a United Nations General Assembly resolution on Thursday, in which 141 countries voted to end hostilities in Ukraine and for Russia to withdraw its forces. Belarus, North Korea, Syria, Eritrea, Mali, and Nicaragua all joined Russia in opposing the declaration. These 6 countries opposing the resolution have developed close military ties with Russia. Countries who abstained during Thursday's vote included South Africa, China, and India. So the countries which are interesting here in this context are, of course, Russia, Belarus, North Korea, Syria, Eritrea perhaps, and of course China and India. Let's first talk about China. Bild Online wrote on February 25, Germany has little time left, the Chancellor Olaf Scholz thinks. In a few years, India will have overtaken us, he says, in terms of economic performance. And then, according to the Chancellor's prophecy, the Indian nation will remember exactly how the Germans behaved when they were even stronger. Now let's talk about China and Russia and Ukraine. Deutsche Welle wrote on February 7, China's increasingly closer relationship with Russia has raised doubts in Ukraine over its strategic partnership with Beijing. Ukraine has maintained a strategic partnership with China. Did you know that? Since 2011, China has been a major importer of Ukrainian grains and corns, and Ukraine is also a major arms supplier to China. Of course, this was before the war started. China's vice foreign minister said Beijing wants to advance bilateral relations with Russia this year, in 2023. And as we have told you before, ultimately, Russia and Ukraine will unite, and they will be part of that power bloc we are talking about. The Bible calls them the kings of the East, and it will include China, India, other countries, as we have just mentioned. And they will be not in favorable terms to the West. Already now, the relationship between Ukraine and Germany in particular has been defined as difficult. Die Welt wrote on February 9, Ukrainian President Zelensky sees the relationship with Germany in a difficult phase. I have to force him, talking about Chancellor Olaf Scholz, to help Ukraine and constantly convince him that this help is not for us, but for the Europeans, he said. Ukraine's relationship with Germany is in waves. It's up and down, he said. Now, at the same time, the relationship between Germany and the United States is not as good as many may think. Modern Diplomacy published an article on February 5 with the following headline, Berlin does not trust Washington. Scholz does not trust the United States. And then the article continued. It turns out that even a bigger fear for Scholz than escalation of this war is that NATO, and in particular the United States, would not get involved if Russia were to retaliate against Germany. And that is the big fear, not just only in Germany. It's a big fear also in Europe. And that is why there is this movement to build a European army, a powerful European army independent of NATO, independent of the United States, something which the Bible clearly says is going to happen. In addition, America is already suffering from self-inflicted wounds. Notice what the Ron Paul Institute wrote on February 23. Fortunately, there will be no world war, not at this point. Not at this point, but world war is coming. He goes on to say, but only because the impending Russian offensive is set to finish off the Ukrainian army before Washington can effectively respond. See, this is not anything which is widely circulated. Let me read this one again. Only because the impending Russian offensive is set to finish off the Ukrainian army before Washington can effectively respond. In turn, that will mean, and when I read that, I couldn't quite believe that I would be reading this. That would mean the end of the American empire. And not only that, because the world will be jeering the naked empire. They will scoff at America. The Bible says America will be left all alone, without any allies, any friends. A laughingstock in the world. Are we seeing soon the end of the American empire? The Bible does prophesy the inevitable fall of the United States of America prior to Christ's return. And there are many reasons for that. It has a lot to do with the way we live, with the way we think, even with the way we quote-unquote worship God, which God does not at all accept. In addition, the Rutherford Institute wrote on February 22, the United States has spent much of the past half-century policing the globe, occupying other countries, waging endless wars. What most Americans fail to recognize is that these ongoing wars have little to do with keeping the country safe and everything to do with propping up a military-industrial complex. War has become a huge money-making venture, and the US government, with its vast military empire, is one of its best buyers and sellers. Incredibly, America's military forces are not being deployed abroad to protect our freedoms here at home. Rather, they are being used to guard oil fields, build foreign infrastructure, and protect the financial interests of the corporate elites. This is how the military-industrial complex continues to get rich at taxpayer expense. War spending is bankrupting America. And yes, in all likelihood, America will end up as a completely and totally bankrupt country. Our national debt is unheard of. There will come a time where we can't even pay the interest anymore for those incredibly idiotic debts we are incurring. In addition, there is strong opposition in Europe against NATO. Here's an article by DPA, that is the German press agency, from February 25. Even in view of the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine, Left Party leader Wissler is maintaining her party's call for the dissolution of NATO. Our criticism of NATO is not obsolete because Russia is waging a war that violates international law, Wissler told the media. We want to replace NATO with a collective security system, she said. In other words, with the European army, apart from NATO. and NATO might very well fall apart. And it's not only the German left party which states that, which wishes that. Uncut News wrote on February 24. American Colonel Douglas MacGregor believes that there are few Europeans who want to fight in this war. Russia will fight to the bitter end, to the Polish border, he said. And if we keep fighting from Poland, Poland will become part of the war. And Poland knows that. And Poland knows that it had been a victim of Russian and German aggression in the past. And they are very concerned about the situation, wanting to make sure that a unified European army is there to protect them. In fact, Russia recently said that they would have to push back the borders that threaten their country as far as possible, even if they are the borders of Poland. That is what Russia has been saying. The article continues. It is a catastrophe for NATO, the colonel stressed. NATO will not survive this and will fall apart. This is already happening behind the scenes. And Germany is right in the middle. The Germans, like most other Europeans, are absolutely not waiting for a war with Russia. Now, ultimately, that will take place, but not right now. But what did he say? Did you catch that? NATO is already falling apart behind the scenes. NATO will be replaced by a strong European army. That is also clearly prophesied. And so we have a power bloc in the Far East, we have a power bloc in Europe, and we have America being left out in the cold. Now, why is this so? Why do we have these power blocs, these people, these leaders, these empires fighting against each other all the time? Why does the Bible tell us this is happening? Why does the Bible call these empires wild beasts? Why does the Bible describe these empires as evil empires and evil people? Now we have prepared a free booklet. Evil empires and evil people, wild beasts of the Bible. This booklet goes into many of these scriptures, many of these questions I have alluded to. And it also explains to you what is going to happen in the near future, prior to Christ's return. Please ask for a free copy. And until next time, this is Norbert Link for the Standing Watch program.
Standing Watch is a presentation by The Church of the Eternal God, P.O. Box 270519, San Diego, California 92198. More information is also available at our website, eternalgod.org.